Good morning, Brendel. I do apologize for the belated reply, and I also apologize for the background noises. There is a construction site just beside the building, and that is very annoying. I'm afraid I don't have the headphones with me, so I'm really sorry for that. Your the poem does make a very interesting reading, and I think we need to reflect together about some points. Formulating research questions is a real challenge, which affects not only students doing the internal assessment and those who extend the essay, but the challenge goes further up in the educational path. And you can see undergrads, grads, PhD, or educational doctors having the same problems. And there are different strategies for addressing this. One of them is when you are delivering the course, a particular topic, if you know there is something that should have been asked and the students haven't asked that question, then you just say that. I do this in my practice a lot. There is at least one question you haven't asked, and I'm waiting for it. And that really stirs them into thinking. That is not being just passive um, participants, but really try to think what has been said. Very often they end up asking far more questions than I had originally envisioned, which is, of course, great. Another thing is giving them the topics, as you say, and ask them to brainstorm and produce initially narrower topics, like you say, kinetics, and then they go down to find the rate of the reaction, or find the activation energy, and then narrow down from there. Uh, that should be done also regularly during the course and not just during the practical program. It's good to see that reference resources and observational skills have smiley faces, and I couldn't agree more with you. In as far as kids having a weak background and those cases in which new techniques are learned, stronger support is needed. This approach can be culturally influenced. The same goes for the research questions. If students are used to a system in which they have a more passive action and they receive the knowledge from the teacher, it's going to be hard to change that mindset. And but this is a decision the school has taken in joining the IB, because it is at the very core of the IB educational philosophy. The same goes for recorded information. Uh, Kids need to have some examples at the beginning to then move on to other to others that are of their own production. When it goes to the nonverbal communication, here again, cultural aspects come into the picture. And I'm not just referring to text, but I'm referring to like gestures and so forth. And in some cultures, this is well received, and in others, it is not. But even in cultures where it is not well received, I tend to believe, and in this case, I entirely support the IB position, that if not used in the culture, it is in the students' best interest in a globalized world to be able to understand the use of that type of communication in other cultures so as not to get lost when interacting with the peers or people from these other cultures where nonverbal communication has big role. It's lovely to see that they are well trained in multiliteracies. And as far as Group 4 project being interdisciplinary is in its very nature, that concurrency of knowledge, which means that you should try to establish links across the board, that has to be addressed in the whole course. The guide does provide some examples, but actually there are far more. I really appreciate your approach towards reflection. Knowledge is really not achieved without it. Global intercultural awareness and sensitivity. Um, I would agree, group work and collaboration is very important. Uh, the point is if you're working with international students or not. If you're working with international students, it does flow easier. But if they are all from the same country, unless we are talking of ethnical differences, which of course they are, then I think that more work is needed. This would also affect the nonverbal communication comments that I made before. In as far as considering less emotional skills in the lab, well, with all due respect, I would tend to disagree. I can see students becoming terribly frustrated because their labs don't work. And that this happens with the students that are weaker and also with students that are high achievers. Something doesn't work, they get really upset. And I think we need some kind of support there. Lovely to see there's all the smiley faces in ethical behavior. And that you are also referring to meeting deadlines in a positive way. Uh, I would add that usually, and we are going to talk about this further in the next modules, there are also internal deadlines that would help giving them support to meet the external ones. Because something else, oh yes, self-management skills. That is one of the most crucial skills. And if you go to surveys on former IB pupils, it systematically appears as one great skill they feel thankful for. So it is, I would agree that it's also needed for the teacher, but as an adult, if the teacher hasn't as yet developed it, as a role model, is it going to be even harder to encourage it in the students? Well, I hope these comments have been somehow helpful, and please let me know if you need further clarification. Have a lovely day.